One new signing already for Barca, but could that spell the end for Dani Alves? Are Bayern about to raid Dortmund again? And where next for Radamel Falcao? Joining me today are international football correspondent Kris Voakes and international football writer Peter Staunton. I'm Aidan Magee and this is Transfer Talk.
It's been an interesting market in Europe this summer, Pete. Talk to me about Barcelona because they've signed a player.
Yeah, Douglas, the right back from Sao Paulo, that deal is very, very close to being finalised for initial €6 million. An aggressive right back, loves to get forward, put his crosses in. We'll get plenty of bookings too. And, you know, after a summer in which Carlos Puyol and Victor Valdez and Cesc Fabregas all departed from Barcelona, could be seen another first-team player on the way out.
Yeah, Dani Alves obviously hasn't been as prolific for the last couple of years with Barcelona, and we saw at the World Cup as well that he's just starting to show those signs of ageing as well, and he's not getting back and doing the defensive work that he used to when doubling up with his forays down the right. And yeah, he could be finding a lot less game time this year.
Does that signing though mean they're not going to be in for Juan Cuadrado? That's
quite possible now. Fiorentina will be looking for quite a hefty price tag on Cuadrado this summer, and they certainly won't want to settle for anything less than what they have in mind. They paid €12 million for him in total over the whole operation, having originally got him on a 50% deal from Udinese. But yeah, they'll back themselves to actually keep hold of Cuadrado and progress him that little bit further as well. They've done very well with him for the past 2 years, and if it means holding on to him for one more year and getting even more money and more teams interested next year, then they may well do that.
How do you see things playing out with him, Pete? Because Bayern Munich have also been interested, don't forget.
Yeah, Bayern were credited with interest earlier on in the summer. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, he flat batted those suggestions that Bayern would be in for Cuadrado, who probably would have been in mind for Pep Guardiola as a right back as well, pretty similar to what Barcelona would have been looking to do with Cuadrado.
What do you make of what Bayern are doing this summer? Because they've come out and said that they're interested in Marco Reus. That would further intensify the relations between themselves and their domestic rivals Dortmund. Yeah,
no love lost here whatsoever between Dortmund and Bayern after the departures, obviously, of Mario Götze and Robert Lewandowski. And, you know, this week, Franz Beckenbauer, who's in no great position of power at Bayern, it must be remembered, he's the honorary president, but he has said that Marco Reus would be a very good fit for Bayern, and it could amount to maybe yet another tapping up campaign between Dortmund and Bayern.
Yeah, obviously, as you say, that it's quite an intense relationship these days, but Dortmund don't seem to have the power to hold on to players like Reus. Obviously, with the Götze and Lewandowski deals, it's already happened twice, and you have to say that Reus will attract a lot of attention, and Bayern is that obvious magnetic pull these days.
Well, the problem is with Reus is that his contract is probably the biggest open secret in football, that he's got a release clause which kicks in the summer of 2015. Now, we do know that he's got a deal until the summer of 2017 at Dortmund, but if a bid were to come in from one of the European heavyweights next summer and Bayern would be chief among them, then there's pretty much nothing that Dortmund can do about it.
They need a defender though, Pete, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. Rafinha, obviously, just before the season started, he suffered a bad injury. But in the Super Cup, Javi Martinez, who's going to be central to Pep Guardiola's plans at Bayern, no matter how long he stays, he suffered a bad injury, a cruciate knee ligament injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season, which means that Bayern really are going to have to go back in the market, as Guardiola said.
Yeah, because he set the side up in this kind of 3-4-3 formation with Javi Martinez key to that, you know, a deep-lying playmaker as he had with Javi Mascherano at Barcelona as well. So losing him means he's going to have to almost start from scratch again with a back four, or as you say, like make another move in the market.
You mentioned making a move in the market. I mean, Godin's been mentioned, Khedira, Benatia. How do you see those lot fitting into what Bayern are trying to do?
Well, I think Benatia, for a start, is a player who can play in a back three. He proved that at Udinese. Also, in the back four at Roma, he's been fantastic. He's got great anticipation. He's powerful in the air and really knows how to lead the defence. So he can play in a number of different positions, and that versatility will certainly come in handy for Bayern.
What's been the difference with Godin over the last year? We've known about him for so many years playing for Uruguay, but he really did have a stellar season. He's capturing the attention of top European clubs now.
Well, what he really benefited from was the organisation that was instilled into the Atletico side by Diego Simeone. You know, a lot of the Atletico players who were crowned champions, as well as Champions League runners-up last year, they were the same guys that were there when Simeone took over. So the likes of Miranda and Godin have been utterly transformed just by this degree of organisation and I suppose work ethic and industry that Simeone has given them, and quite rightly it's put them on the map.
What do you make of Benatia? We've heard Chelsea and Manchester United being linked with him. Do you fancy Bayern's chances of nicking him late on?
Yeah, well, if they come in with the right price, then Roma, I think, would be willing to sell. He's a player they've only had for a year. If they can make a big profit in a short space of time, then I'm sure they'd do that. Benatia had actually, back in his Udinese days, said that he was very interested in signing for Manchester United. So that's an in for United. But yeah, if a Bayern came in, then I'm sure he'd be very interested.
Everybody seems to be after centre-halves at the moment, Pete. Have they missed the trick, some of these top European clubs, by not signing Ezekiel Garay? Obviously, he's gone to Zenit.
It was a wonderful piece of business earlier on in the transfer window, before the World Cup, of course, for André Villas-Boas to take Ezekiel Garay, a player he knows very, very well, obviously, from the Portuguese league, for around about €6 million from Benfica. And, you know, you see the way Zenit have started the season and the aspirations that they have in the Champions League as well. You know, this is a centre-back who, through his performances from Argentina, has, you know, become quite a coveted player, and for them to come in so early in the window and tie up that bit of business, a lot of teams are going to be jealous of that.
Yeah, and also last season with Benfica, with that fantastic run to the Europa League final, Garay was key to that as well, and a lot of people just kind of glossed over that. Zenit didn't, and that's a great bit of business.
Another André Villas-Boas charge is, of course, Radamel Falcao at the other end of the field. What's going to happen with him, do you think? Because Liverpool and Juventus have been linked with him. Why isn't he capturing the attention of even bigger, more stellar clubs?
Well, back in those days when he was with Villas-Boas at Porto, the biggest clubs were always linked with him. Again, obviously, when he first signed for Monaco. But now, with that cruciate knee ligament injury that he's had, the fact that he's 28 now, the fact that he's on a huge contract at Monaco, these are all things that are kind of standing in the way, really, of him going to one of the bigger clubs, especially with Real Madrid as well. They've done a lot of business this summer. That seems to have gone cold a little bit, that particular link.
Yeah, not to mention the fee that Monaco paid for him also. This is a €60 million fee they had to pay last year to kind of extricate him from those, you know, the complications of his third-party ownership too. So any club that wants to come in for Falcao, not only are they going to be put off by his contract and potentially his knee, but, you know, they're going to have to meet a pretty hefty buyout figure as well. And, you know, these are, you know, after all the optimism of last summer, there seem to be dark days all of a sudden for Monaco. You know, Rodriguez is gone. You would say that Moutinho and Falcao are about the only two peak players left at Monaco, and to make a run at the Champions League and at the French title, it looks totally inadequate to me.
And on the one hand, that is a good leverage position for Falcao because, you know, if he can disturb things enough that they want him out, then, you know, that might bring his price down a little bit. But then at the same time, there's only a couple of weeks left of the market, and he really is their last kind of figurehead player, and they're going to need him if they've got any chance of doing anything in Europe this season.
Why hasn't this transfer strategy worked for Monaco in the last year or so?
A number of different issues. We do know that Dmitry Rybovilev, you know, in his personal life, he's lost some of his fortune due to an expensive divorce case. Obviously, they're going to have some financial fair play regulations to keep in check. But it does seem that they have that certain level of spending to get them back into the Champions League. And I think the hope is now that they can kind of perpetuate that with the more modest players that they have already on the books. Because I think the days of James Rodriguez and Moutinho and Radamel Falcao, you know, arriving for exorbitant sums, I think those days are certainly over for Monaco.
Okay, thanks guys, really enjoyed that. Don't forget, if you'd like to join the transfer debate, head over to Goal or use the hashtag GoalTZ.